Hey everyone, this is David. Welcome back behind the velvet rope. Let's just get right into it today because we are joined by the one, the only Kato Kaelin.
I love him. Oh, Kato behind the velvet rope. Is there a cover charge? It's a club, right? Isn't that a club theme behind the velvet rope?
Well, you know what? It's chatting with people like you that this really feels like behind the velvet rope.
I mean, it feels like we're taking the SAT. This is a classroom setting. It's like, I want to cheat off your paper. Isn't this like a school desk? And
isn't this so formal?
I love it.
Listen, I love how we ran into each other outside. You were walking into the building. You're reminiscing about this used to be like the National Lampoon's.
This was National Lampoon headquarters right here, National Lampoon, and I did comedy development. I also shot a show here. It was the College Network show, and it went on a loop. It went to every university. So I was trying to get that young crowd, and I used to do the comedy raps, and it was just so much fun in the Lampoon days. And then I became friends, very dear friends. He just passed away, was Maddie Simmons. Maddie did Animal House and the Vacation films. So Maddie was my dear friend, and he even had a podcast. So seeing you and then going, I said, David, I think that's the building that we're going to be doing our podcast in. I go, this is such a good energy.
I mean, I guess you remember a lot about your early days in Hollywood. You really do.
Yes, I still think I'm in my early days.
I don't remember anything from my early days. So
you don't remember yesterday, I heard. That Super Bowl party just threw you off.
I don't remember yesterday. That is correct. Not even in a drunken way. It all blends together for me, Kato. It really does.
I've got a phenomenal memory. I'll tell you why. It's because I meet so many people. I was touring on a show. It was Comic-Con, so it was called Wizard World. It was the world's largest Comic-Con. And I would meet literally in every city. Obviously, we had people of 50,000 in the weekends, but I'd meet about 900 personally signing, and people would go, I can't believe you remember all the names. I'm about 95%. Wow. And then I come back next year, I come to that city again. I remember them because I kind of say their name, and I would say, like you, Mark, I'm David. Like you, I would say their name, and it just sticks with me, and they go, you got a great memory. So I always try to remember everything.
Well, that's impressive. When you think of, look, I think everyone is, I'm really not like a holistic person, but I do believe in like divine intervention that, look, we're all where we're supposed to be at that time, right? When you think of these early days in Hollywood of your career, like, do you divide your life the way most people do? Do you think like pre-OJ and post-OJ?
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. It's sort of like, I think people don't realize that I had a life before OJ.
Exactly.
I had a complete life before OJ. I had I judge it by my Screen Actors Guild card. That's the every actor is dying to get a Screen Actors Guild card, and I've had mine, over 40 years, way before OJ, and I did, quite a few commercials, and I had I was Kato Kaelin, but no one knew Kato Kaelin until the OJ show. But I've said this on shows, and you probably know it too. Is my buddy, his name's Aaron Meyerson. Aaron, huge producer in the business, who was at New Line Cinema, ran CBS. He just became a dear friend of mine way back in the 1990s on, where he would we played basketball and just hung out. So he gave me a script. It's a great story too. Gave me a script, because read this. He goes, you've got to read this script. It's so funny. You've got to be in it. And I'm producing it. And I said, oh, this would be fantastic. You read for the casting director from Montgomery. So I'm reading this film. I'm going, this is hysterical. I bring in casting and read one part, read another part, reading all these parts. And it goes there. I get the call back. I go to another part, and it's no one knows what this film is, but it's going to be a big hit. So I'm reading this part of this guy named Harry Dunn, and then I'm reading these other roles in this film, and it's Dumb and Dumber. So Dumb and Dumber I read the week before the actual murders happened, and then my life kind of stopped in the trial, and then that there was nothing for me, because I was sort of, when they say you're hot, like you're a potato, you're hot, they have to drop you. So it was, but I was getting really good readings. I was getting all these incredible auditions, and everything just kind of stopped.
What role did you read for in Dumb or Dumber?
I read like 3 different roles, but Harry Dunn was one of them. That's Jeff Daniels had the hair, so I had the long hair. So it was fun. And obviously Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey are phenomenal, and no way I was going to get it. But getting to that level, and the Farrelly brothers, directed at, later on, like years later, I was at the Super Bowl in Houston, met them at a dinner, all sat at the table, had a great time. Then I got invited to Bill Murray's golf event I've been doing for years, and they're always there. And they're so kind to me, and they love that story. And they say these great things. They saying, you should be a big star. And I'm saying, you guys are big producers and directors. You should make me a star.
Right. They're right there.
Exactly.
It's like, can't they write you a part?
Yeah, write something, anything. But,
you could have been opposite Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I doubt that. Jeff Daniels is phenomenal, but just even a little bit in that film would have been just phenomenal for me.
Well, right. That wasn't your destiny. When did you listen, like, this is how I think of it. Like, I think of, like, if I'm sitting at home and I hear, like, all these sirens speeding by, you hear sirens. I mean, and then the next thing you know, they're knocking on your, like, when, like, do you remember, like, because, I mean, listen, there's been so much written about this, but here you are.
Yeah.
Like, when did you realize, like, wait, that these people are here on this property? Like, what's, like, that it was really a big deal?
Oh, with the detectives, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Like, just that moment.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, you mentioned about
yes, I'm going back to OJ for
divine intervention, how you mentioned that. And I 100%, in hindsight, you kind of look at things, it's like, everybody's got their blueprint of life. It's probably, you don't know that it's predetermined. You already know someone, your death date, everything. Everybody knows it. So that was my blueprint. It's like, you're going to be famous, but for the wrong reason. You're not going to be famous from that. You're going to be famous because of this trial. I mean, that was the blueprint. I don't know what's going to happen. So when they're at my door, 4 detectives, I had no idea because the entire night was it's called June gloom in LA. It's a fog, and I was foggy that night because I was talking to this girl, and I was single. She was single, and I said, "Come over here," and she goes, "Come over here." I go, "No, you coming to my place," and we're going back and forth. This is when everybody had phone machines and waiting the call coming in. It was so different back then. So I said to her, I go, "I think we just had an earthquake." And I go, "Did you feel that?" She goes, "No." I said, "Oh, my picture just moved." So my room has no windows, but it has a wall. There's a picture. The picture moved. So I thought it had to be an earthquake. And later on, we find out what we think it might be, where when the detectives came in, they said, "Who are you?" And I told them. They said, "What did you wear last night?" So the whole time I'm thinking that there was a plane crash, that O.J. Simpson was in a plane crash, and they're just checking out. But when you're at 5 a.m. or so, and nothing makes sense. It still feels like a dream state. So I'm answering all their questions. They're looking at the bottom of my shoes, and I'm going, why do they do this? But I'm just going along with them. Whatever they wanted me, I was answering their questions. And they said, "Who lives here?" I said, "There's another bungalow. It's a pretty big bungalow I had," and it was his daughter, Arnell. And then someone's questioning her. And that was it. And they thought this guy was I think at that time they're just going, "Who's this Kato guy?" And my car is parked on the street, and a few people have told the story too. It's I had a casting business with a great actor from General Hospital named Grant Kramer. Grant and I had a business, so I'd be on the set a lot, and I had to drive to destinations, but I kept a manager.